and was ranked as the lowest out of more than 80 projects, 80 of the most expensive projects that were at first included in the Countywide Transportation Plan, is not only absurd, it is dangerous. We have been involved in the EPAC, a coalition of more than a dozen environmental, labor, housing, and other different types of organizations that are involved in this project, and we are not at all happy. Let me be clear. Radical change is necessary. Rush hour is 8 hours every day. That's the status quo. If radical change is not being proposed in this measure, what's the point? Massive changes are needed, and they are needed right now. Thank you.
Debbie Toth, followed by Claire Linder, and then Adele Olvera. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I just wanted to say thank you. Big, fat, huge thank you. I do stand here with colleagues from the coalition at the EPAC and want to express my support for their position as well, but I just feel the need to say thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Adele Olvera. Claire Linder, I'm sorry, first. Then Adele Olvera and Linnea Juarez.
Mr. Chair, could I suggest something we do at the Board of Supervisors, is that as you call those names, that the people line up behind the mic. Sure. It will help all of us move more quickly.
Good idea. So
Thank you.
So we could ask for Adele and Linnea to join the line.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. My name is Claire Linder. I'm from Bike Concord. I wanted to thank you for your time and also to support Bike East Bay's and Bike Concord's proposals for the Transportation Expenditure Plan to increase funding for bike ped categories to 5%. Parenthetically, the gentleman from San Ramon and some other commissioners had some traffic problems. I just want to put a point out there that increasing bike and pedestrian infrastructure means those are cars that are not in your way. Thank you.
Thank you. And then joining the line will be Steve Barr. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Adi Olvera. I'm a resident of Concord and also a member of Bike Concord. I just want to thank you for hearing us out today, and I want to express that I support Bike East Bay and Bike Concord in their efforts to advocate for cycling infrastructure that benefits families that use their bicycles, with a combination of using bus, BART, and walking to get to their city, to get around their cities for their personal needs, like going to school, to their doctor appointments, going to get groceries, going to the store, to buy supplies for their homes. I use cycling for personal needs as well as recreational to improve the health of my family. I have been teaching my daughter to ride her bike to school, and I depend on you to make a decision that improves the cycling conditions in my city, for my family, for the children that are in my neighborhood, so we can ride safely and travel within our city to do different things, and also to travel beyond our city using trails and other streets to enjoy the benefits of our neighboring cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Juarez, and then Mr. Barr and Greg Haft.
Good evening. My name is Linnea Juarez. I am the chair of the Byron MAC, and I want to say I'm glad to see the majority of our MAC members here tonight. I just received the notice yesterday about this meeting and the need to bring as many live speaking bodies here as we could tonight from East County. I feel very chagrined that I'm talking about a subject I know very little about. I am an accountant, and I hate to talk about something when I don't know the numbers. I tried a little bit to listen to the presentation made and to look at what was on the screen. Believe me, it didn't tell me enough. I deal with this on a constant basis with my clients. I do the financial management of common interest subdivisions, if you're familiar with the term, homeowners associations, etc., around the Bay Area. And one of the things I hear from those people is, I'm tired of paying for something I don't get. I just lost a major vote in very large association for a very large special assessment because the people that were living on the east side, believe it or not, of that particular community didn't get their roofs done, didn't get their siding done, but the people on the west side had. And the comment made is, you spent our money, they got it, we didn't. And that's what I'm hearing tonight. I heard a comment made offhand that maybe the Brentwood BART station or E-BART is not going to be on the table. Well, how long have we, those of us in East County, been paying for the privilege of that station to come out to us finally? They got theirs, we haven't gotten ours yet. SR 239 we have been talking about as a savior in our area for the commute situation, for the truck situation, for the living, the working, and the movement of product, and making our life better. We do not want to see these projects go away and disappear in the 20 categories, 30 categories that you're talking about. Thank you very much.
Chairman Tatson, members of the board, appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. It's concerning to the residents of Brentwood that I represent as a council member of the city of Brentwood, some 55,000 residents in East County that are counting on State Route 239 to be an eventuality, and the planning to continue to open that corridor, which is a multimodal corridor for East County, to not only move our residents into the Central Valley, but our goods, knowing that we live in a huge farmland, and most of you that live in Central County never see the trucks that travel on Highway 4 over one-lane bridges and down J4. They are carrying hay, cherries, corn, and they are all heading to either Stockton or Tracy. And the 239 Tri-Link is a vital connector for Brentwood. It's in our general plan that we just updated, and I urge you to put this as a high priority on your list. In addition to that, the connector to the airport is also important for future economic development in our area. And I urge you to consider wisely that we keep this as part of East County, and for those 55,000 residents in Brentwood that are counting on you to do the right thing for them. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, members of the board. Thank you. My name is Greg Hayett. I'm an Orinda resident, and I'm here representing Bike Orinda. Orinda has a vision for bike and pedestrian access. I'd like to share part of it with you. Orinda should be a community where residents and visitors can easily, safely, and efficiently travel by bicycle or foot between and within residential areas, to public transportation, to schools, and the downtown areas. This vision was approved by our city council in 2011, and I know most, if not all, cities in the county have a similar vision. When asked why our residents don't bike more or walk more, the answer we get most often is they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe letting their kids out to walk to school or bike to school. We don't see this as funding bike and ped projects versus other projects. We see it when you fund bike ped projects, you make the community better for everyone. You reduce congestion. You ease parking at BART and in our downtown areas. But our citizens have to feel safe first. And it's simple. To make them feel safe, we need improvements to the infrastructure. And doing so requires adequate funding. I urge you to adopt the funding recommendations put forth by Bike East Bay. But in a sense, this isn't really just a matter of funding. It's about what we want for the future. And the answer is already clear. What our cities and what ccta itself has put out there as its vision and mandate is to provide sustainable transportation. The answer is already clear. But we need your support to make this a reality now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Micah Pierce, and I'm here with Bike Concord and Bike East Bay. I've been a resident of Contra Costa County for most of my life, and I've been commuting by bicycle for the better part of 3 years in the city of Concord. In the last few weeks, I've seen a considerable increase in the number of bicycle commuters in Concord and on my commute route, which means I've seen many more people bicycling on narrow, uneven, and often blind sidewalks. The sight of other bicycle commuters, cycling enthusiasts out for an evening's exhilaration, and parents taking their children for afternoon rides warms my heart. But the condition for bicycling in Contra Costa's most populous city concerns me deeply. In many streets, pedestrians and bicyclists are forced to share sidewalks that are barely wide enough for 2 people abreast, let alone a pedestrian and a cyclist. Because our streets have been designed to accommodate cars and nothing else. Wide, multi-lane streets with high speed limits and few pedestrian crossings may accommodate more traffic in and out of our cities and county. But it alienates those who cannot afford a personal vehicle, and it dissuades those that would walk and bike the streets of their lovely cities from opportunities to do so. By choosing to prioritize motorized transportation over active transportation, we cut off neighborhoods, like my own on Clayton Road, from accessing resources for outdoor activities such as Lime Ridge Open Space, or the several parks that are a short stroll or bike ride from their front doors. The Transportation Expenditure Plan offers a golden opportunity to connect communities with the parks and services that our taxes support, provide a form of equality to the least fortunate in our society in the form of accessible work through cheap means, and make an opportunity to create an environment that fosters healthy lifestyle choices for members of our community, especially the nearly 34% of children currently overweight. All of these things we can do, along with the strong complete streets requirement that your staff and consultants have worked out with Bike East Bay. A large percentage of the bicycle and pedestrian funding category will make sure that the opportunity is not wasted. 15% would be great, but if that is not possible, please push the number as close to that mark as can be done. Do not let this golden opportunity pass us up. Support a better, healthier, and happier community by allocating funds with a strong dedication to active transportation.
My name is Steve Larson. I'm at 2930 Camino Diablo Road in Byron, and I've lived in East Contra Costa County for 30 years, had jobs all over the Bay Area, and so I've seen the roads change over the years. And I'd like to say a big thank you to all of you. Having moved to Antioch in 1986, I'd seen at least 2 lake leverages. Tonight when I was driving through, 5 lanes wide, shoulders on the side, railway. Congrats, you guys have done a great job. Now is not the time. Now is the time to fund projects that will connect these improvements to Tracy and the Central Valley. Having driven the Byron Highway for 18 years, I've seen significant changes in the trucks. Tracy has become a distribution hub. It's time for those trucks to be on a high-volume road and get the local roads back to where they should be. High-volume traffic should be on a high-volume road. I'd also like to promote at this time the airport connector, as I see it as a positive for the community of Byron. It'll create local jobs, as the airport will likely see growth with better access, both light industrial and air freight. So please keep that in mind when you make the decision. Thank you.
Chair Tatson, commissioners, and members of staff, thank you for the opportunity to comment. My name is Kenji Yamada, and I'm an alternate for Dave Campbell of Bike East Bay on the Expenditure Plan Advisory Committee. I'm also here on behalf of Concord and Central Contra Costa residents who get around our region by bicycle, would like to be able to do so safely and conveniently anywhere in our community, and have formed the organization called Bike Concord to advocate for that goal. A few of them are in the room here tonight, and you've heard from some of them at this microphone. I first want to recognize the openness, fairness, and hard work of your staff and consultants on this draft TEP, especially Ross Chittenden, Bill Gray, and Matt Todd, who've done a great job ensuring that the input of the various stakeholders in this process has all been recorded, publicly aired, and publicly responded to. I think the comment log concept they've come up with is a great way to capture this and make sure that we know what's being done with our input. The language we've arrived at in the Complete Streets policy through extensive conversations with staff and consultants will go a long way to make sure that the street investments made possible by this measure will create the conditions for transportation that keeps residents healthy, supports local businesses, and reduces maintenance burdens on our infrastructure. I'm here to ask you to lend your support for a robust Complete Streets program throughout Contra Costa County. And as Ross mentioned, you'll see the results of our conversations with staff and consultants in the next draft that appears before you. Our members appeared before you back in October asking for at least 15% of the measure for dedicated bicycle and pedestrian projects, as distinct from street projects which include the non-motor components of traffic. I understand that this tax has to cover many needs, and we are not all going to get quite the level of funding that we might have hoped for. However, there is a time-sensitive need to complete a bikeway network in Contra Costa County. It can't wait another 30 years. 5% of the measure would at least cover the most important needs. This is considerably less than 15, but it would be an increase from the 2.6% in the current draft. So I'm asking for your support for that increase. And finally, I'd like to ask if you could find a way so that the method of awarding funds from competitive categories, such as the major streets and complete streets category, incentivizes projects which maximally meet the category standards, rather than privileging less than ideal projects based on their location within the county. Thank you.
Thank you. After AJ will be Josh Huber and then Cynthia Armgor.
Good evening, Chair and members of the board. My name is AJ Fardella. I'm the chairman of the Pittsburgh Planning Commission. In reference to various comments and suggestions which have been made pertaining to the draft transportation expenditure plan, the draft TEP, the City of Pittsburgh offers the following comments. The City of Pittsburgh strongly opposes the specific exclusion of any projects as part of the upcoming sales tax measure. In particular, Pittsburgh believes the James Donlin Extension project should not be excluded, as it has been listed as a route of regional significance for over 20 years. Moreover, this project has been included as a mitigation measure for dozens of developments in Brentwood, Antioch, Oakley, and unincorporated areas of East County. In addition, it should be noted that the City of Pittsburgh is a participant in the East County HCP. The East County HCP has approved and protected so far over 12,000 acres and will preserve and protect over 30,000 acres by the end of the plan. Pittsburgh, as the lead agency on this project, is committed to the full mitigation of any environmental impacts which the project may create through the HCP process. Finally, Pittsburgh has repeatedly expressed its intention to obtain and dedicate right-of-way on both sides of the roadway to the East Bay Regional Park District. This right-of-way will be conveyed in fee, making it impossible for access to the roadway by any future developments without the approval of the East Bay Regional Parks. Thus, in effect, guarantees that this project will not be growth-inducing. Since the project will not be increasing the number of cars in the region, and it will allow for smoother flowing traffic, it will reduce the amount of greenhouse gases emitted in the area. Let me be clear. The James Donlin extension will actually improve air quality in the southern portion of Pittsburgh. Thank you for your consideration to these comments, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Josh Huber, followed by Cynthia Armgor and Brian Corey.
Good evening. My name is Josh Huber. I am the Policy Director with the East Bay Leadership Council. Here this evening on behalf of our CEO, Kristen Connolly, who sits on the EPAC, and is sick this evening and asked me to make a couple comments. The first is to thank all of you, but especially the staff and consultants who have been working on this. Obviously, this has been a long and arduous process, I think it's fair to say, but I think it's really commendable to some of the hard work that's gone in, especially by the staff and the consultants, and just want to thank them for all of that. Also wanted to let you know that we are actually having some conversations outside of even the subgroup efforts to try to figure out with some of our friends in the environmental, bike, and business community a way to compromise on some of these issues and bring you a united front for your consideration. Just a little bit of a preview on some of that from just the council's perspective. One is the 680 funding that Ross alluded to earlier. The minimum of 200, we think 200 million is really important. Perhaps moreover, East County Connector. really appreciate Supervisor Pifo's comments earlier. This is a really important issue in terms of economic development in the East County and also along the northern waterfront in that initiative that Supervisor Glover, I know you've been a key with as well. So just want to leave you with that. We think it's really important for economic development, both in terms of moving people and moving goods, and hope you'll continue to consider that as we continue to engage in this process. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Cynthia Armgor, followed by Brian Corey and Garrett Evans. Welcome.
Hello, good evening. My name is Cynthia Armour, and I work with Bike East Bay. I rode here from downtown Concord along the Iron Horse Trail, about a 25-minute ride. It was beautiful, fantastic ride. However, had I spent 5 minutes afterwards on a more common type of street, like Willow Pass or Treat Boulevard or Rumrill, you can trust me when that smile would have been wiped right off my face. So Contra Costa has some great trails, but it's not enough to create walkable, bikeable communities, to create a safe network of bikeways. There's a lot of work to be done, a lot of connections to be made, a lot of investments to commit. And we're working with groups in cities across Contra Costa and Richmond, in Orinda, in Concord, in Martinez, with the Delta Peddlers, with a number of different groups who are all asking for this as well. These investments are essential for more efficient and equitable use of our streets and for the good of the economy as well. So I would like to reiterate what Kenji Yamada has already asked, that please make these things possible by allocating at least 5% specifically to bike and ped infrastructure. Thank you very much for your work, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Brian Corey, followed by Garrett Evans and Hurag Anyan McCreary.
Good evening, members. Thank you very much for letting me speak. My name is Brian Corey. I live in Concord, and I latched onto the Bike Concord group because they shared my interest in wanting a safe place to ride my bicycle. I rode my bicycle down here this evening. I tried to ride my bicycle and just not drive my car by myself in a car. I just think it's the wrong thing to do. The meeting that I attended before, a point was made by the chairman that everything that we've done to improve the roadways seem to result in the same thing, and that is that we end up with more cars on the road. And as an alternative to that, I believe that, not to be arguing with some of the points that were made here, but I believe businesses in our local areas and having communities based so that the housing supports where people live and their businesses, and to have less travel on the road is very important in planning, which I believe is a vision. And it was also spelled out with your graph. It was out of the MTC's input from the 2040 planning. It was one of the priorities that came from the community charts that were formed there too. So thank you very much for considering 5% for your funding.
Good evening, Chair, Commission members. Garrett Evans, Assistant City Manager with the City of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh supports the efforts of CCTA in providing cooperative transportation solutions for our community and not excluding any projects under consideration for the TEP. Our Pittsburgh Center BART station is under construction and leading to a significant push around the station to build a thriving transit-oriented infill development. In fact, this week I had a developer meet with me to discuss if we would allow 6 stories or higher near our BART station. One of the projects, as we've heard, is being listed as possible excluded from the TEP is the James Donlin Extension Project. The James Donlin Extension Project has been planned by Pittsburgh for over 25 years, has a certified EIR, and its impacts are specifically covered by the HCP. The James Donlin Extension is a priority project with our East County community partners, Antioch, Oakley, Brentwood, and unincorporated Contra Costa County, and is the next priority project in the queue. It will move traffic from surrounding communities off our congested existing streets. It is estimated that 90% of that traffic using James Donlin Extension will be from other communities, not Pittsburgh, where they currently idle and contribute significantly to greenhouse gas emissions in our community. The James Donlin Extension will not avail itself to encourage new development in Pittsburgh. There are no new developments tied to this project. It will only move traffic more efficiently to their destination. With CCTA's help, the Pittsburgh Center BART Station and James Donlin Extension are creating a better, more livable community in Pittsburgh. We encourage the board not to exclude any projects in the TEP. Thank you for your consideration.
Good evening. My name is Huri Ayanyan McCrae. I am a Concord resident, and I'm also a member of Bike Concord. I'm here tonight to support Bike East Bay's proposal for the transportation expenditure plan. I believe it's important to promote healthier communities, and I urge you to support Bike East Bay's proposal as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and good evening to you all. My name is Ron Reagan, and I live in Brentwood, California. I'm a member of the Airport Land Use Commission, and I chair the Aviation Advisory Committee. I'm here tonight, though, as a businessman in Brentwood. I've owned and operated my tax practice, which I was able to escape from tonight, for the past 37 years, and I've operated it in Brentwood for the last 17 years. And I'd like to bring your attention to a paragraph that's on your handout here, and if you don't mind, I'm going to take a moment to read it. It says that an objective study has determined that a change to the urban limit line is necessary or desirable to further the economic viability of the East Contra Costa County Airport and either mitigate adverse aviation-related environmental or community impacts attributable to the Buchanan Field. One of the things that we are concerned with in East County, and specifically Brentwood and Oakley in that area, is the 239 project. And my understanding is that the 239 project was introduced in 1959, and if you promise not to do the math, I'll tell you that that's the year I graduated from high school. So I'd like to tell you that we've been very patient in East County with regard to the 239 project. But specifically what I am concerned about is the growth of and the ability that we have to create jobs in East County. I would like to see if for some reason we can't make the 239 project a priority. What I would like to see is a priority of the connector from Vasco Road to Armstrong Road that connects to the Byron Airport. And then perhaps even at that point when that connector is completed, and maybe even pull it out of the 239 project and make it a standalone project such that we can begin to develop around the airport, and the urban limit line project or paragraph that I just read would be instrumental in that. But we could also depend upon the development around there to even help fund a further extension to the Byron Highway. I know that this is a small example, but when I first moved to Brentwood, the mayor of Brentwood at that time made it necessary for developers, if you want to develop in our town, you need to build parks, and we've got parks all over Brentwood. Well, I believe that we can make certain provisions and ask developers to cost share in the development of an extension road from Vasco Road to at least to the airport and perhaps even beyond. So I think that it's very important that we take a look at and prioritize the need for an extension to the airport such that we can begin to create more active use out there, take some of the financial pressure off of Buchanan Airport as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I live in Byron on Camino Diablo, and since the Highway 4 bypass went through and our speed limit was increased, so did the traffic. We became a shortcut to Tracy, which in turn created safety